Welcome. I am here today with Cate Scaglione. And we had talked about, putting this on the calendar a bit ago. And we managed to finally find some time where both of our schedules really meshed together. And Cate is somebody that I've followed online and been hearing her name for as long as I can remember. And she's based out of New Jersey. So if you have not seen her work, you need to. But I'm really excited to bring her onto the Studio Takeover podcast today so that we can have a real conversation about life, about business, and just have it be open and real. So, Cate, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for welcoming me here. And what a good intro. My goodness. Thank you.
Thanks. No, I've been really excited about this conversation. Your reputation precedes you,
Wow.
for sure.
Thank you.
But even before we started the recording, we were just kind of chatting, and I just noted, I was like, God, you are so grounded. This is incredible. And people come on to the podcast, right? And they're either like way up here and just kind of nervous and not sure what's happening, or they're just like right into flow. And I feel like you kind of fall into that camp of just being super present.
Thank you. It's just a conversation, and then we get to share it with everybody else. So
yeah. So one of the things that I think is really intriguing about, topics that resonate with you, like for starter, we opened with kind of balance and finding that, but your background really led you to uncovering what that balance looks like for you. Can you tell us a little bit about like your path and your journey and how you've managed to build this business? Yes, but like how it's really impacted how you run your business.
Mm-hmm. So I think for a lot of people, I think when you start out young, you kind of grow up and find your purpose and find your path, and then you set your goals. I was kind of the opposite type of person where I was very goal driven and very purposeful when I was young.
Okay.
And as I grew older, things became less clear. So I think you have to sometimes take moments, pivotal moments in life where life will smack you upside the head, and you have to say, I have to stop and reflect and say, what does this mean? And what do I do with it? And there's always signs. Like I had a sign today. I was having a bad day yesterday, and there's just signs, and you have to watch for them. And then you take those signs and say, what does this mean? So when I was younger, I had this, I kind of always knew I was right brain and left brain. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm a little bit business, I'm a little bit creative, and what can I do to kind of merge the two together? I decided I wanted to be an advertising creative. I was in like the 8th grade and I decided this.
Okay.
So I go through high school and I'm making little ads, I'm doing graphic design, I'm doing all of these things. I go into college, I study the same thing. Have all the right internships, have the best grades, making sure I get the best job. And I went, my first job was in a corporate track. So I started in public relations, knowing that would be like a decent path to get the business side, and then worked my way into position in corporate America. So I was eventually at a very young age for a Fortune 500 company. It was American Express.
Oh, okay.
I was promoted before I was even 30 years old. I was probably like 27, maybe, a director of global advertising at Amex, which meant I was in charge of print ads, TV commercials, all the production
at
of
27.
At 27. So I don't know who in their right mind gives someone that young that kind of responsibility, but it shows you how driven I was and how work was life. Like everything I was doing was towards that project, that purpose, that goal. And I burned myself into the ground. By the time I was, I started my career at 21. I was in that position around 27. By the time I was 30, I had stomach issues. I looked like a mess. I had a very abusive boss, and he said to me one day, if you keep on this path with this stress level, you're going to wind up looking like her. And he pointed to an executive who I very much respected and who was a mentor to me, but she happened to be in her 60s at the time. She was known as a media maven in her
Okay.
in her field and what she did. And it was so not only was it insulting and disrespectful and probably pretty illegal in the workplace, but it was a moment where I was like, this is the culture I'm existing in, and this is a path that I'm on. And I'm so stressed out. I don't feel well. Like, what am I doing? I was making so much money, like more money than anyone I knew at that age.
Hmm.
I could just go buy a house when I was 30 years old with my fiance at the time, my husband now. Um, and I continued on that path for a little while, and then I got pregnant with my first child. And here I was, pregnant, running to meetings, traveling. Um, I just like nonstop. And once the baby was born, I had a brief maternity leave, and then I'd go back to work, and I'm on conference calls with another country at night in a different time zone, and I'm rushing to get my newborn to sleep so that I can finish up my work in the call. And there was one night that I was doing that, and I'm like holding the baby, and I'm a very like nurturing mother, so for me it was like a complete disconnect. I'm holding her and I'm like trying to rock her to sleep, and I'm trying not to let them see on the conference call. And I stopped and I looked at her, and she's like crying, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Mm.
It wasn't about being a mom, working mom, anything like that. It was about I'm disrupting my own peace, and I'm disrupting my own child's peace for what? For money, for the
Well, and the
clout.
obligation to faceless corporate entities, like,
Yeah, like and what was this like incessant need I had to chase this success? Like what was it doing for me? Like I'd get rewarded at work with bonuses, or I get praised with something. We won, some awards for our creative work, but you think you want those things and then you get them and it's meaningless, right?
mm,
So I transitioned into another job briefly, got pregnant again with my second child. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. He was born sick. I'm like, now I really have to stop working. I stopped working, and my world kind of shattered in my brain because I'm like, I am a worker bee. I am somebody that only knows how to chase goals. And now I'm home with two babies. What the hell do I do with my life?
well,
Like,
because your identity being goal driven is wrapped up in those goals. And as a parent, the goals are 20 years down the line when they're adults and like the goal is their kind and operational as human and contributing to society. Like, is that something you can put a metric to?
I mean, it was kind of the moment that I had to be like, why am I so shattered? I have these two beautiful babies at home. I have a beautiful home. I've accomplished all these things before I'm even like 33 years old. But I'm like, what is it about me that requires this so badly? And I realized, as they say, and it sounds so cliche, but all things go back to your childhood.
Sure.
And for me, it was kind of like, if I'm going to be honest, it was like we were rewarded with closeness and connection based on performance,
Um,
right?
okay.
So and I did this all without a therapist, by the way. I can't even believe I'm not on the ether as being so vulnerable, but it's a conversation. But that pivotal moment said to me, I need to rewire what success looks like for me.
Hmm.
I need to rewire what performance really is and what are my priorities that make me happy as a person, because I realized I had all those things that I had planned for and I wasn't happy. So what now? And I said, well, I had all this training in advertising. I spent all my time on photo shoots. I mean, we had our biggest photographer was Annie Leibovitz.
Okay.
I did not sit on set with Annie Leibovitz. Nobody does, but she drove the campaign creative and things like that. Other photographers, and I'd sit there on these shoots and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm trained as a photographer from school. Why don't I just pick up my camera and I do this? And so when I'm home with the kids, I start taking out the camera and practicing and doing the things and kind of reviving that piece of me. And what's so funny is when I was in school, I was shooting fine art nudes as my project work, having no idea where this would lead me. But once I started shooting, I'm like, this really brings me joy. And this is what's making me feel whole again, like creating. So I said to myself, okay, creativity is a major value in my life. And I
Hmm.
cannot let that get overshadowed by these other things. Yes, we all need to make a living, but that has to be priority number one. Priority number two has to be peace because I felt so disrupted by the life I was living that I knew that I have a pretty sensitive nervous system. So I'm like, I can't continue to be rattled and be a good person for these children, for my family, even for myself. So creativity one, peace two. Money is always there, but I'm not motivated by money. I feel like money comes when you have everything else in place and
Hmm.
I was trained as a business person, so I could set up systems to do business in a smart way and do my messaging in a smart way. But, you know, I'm not motivated by money. So I feel like our industry as a whole, and I'm going to be totally honest here, and I hope nobody feels called out. I don't mean to do that, but out there, I mean, um, I think our industry has become a lot about the dollar signs and like everyone kind trying to stack against one another. Well, I had the $20,000 sale. Well, mine was 21, or
Mm.
um, I made $500,000 this quarter, and somebody else is sitting there being like, I don't think I've made $5,000 all year.
Right.
And they feel like a failure.
I think it comes with, there's the stigma around creative enterprise that
Mm,
unless it's in, a Fortune 1 or a Fortune 500 space, that it has to be affordable.
mm,
And most creatives come into the space taking photos of their kids, of their friends, of their family. And, somebody goes, or even in your own voice, in your own head says, I could make money doing this. This could
hmm.
be a living. Right. But then we have this huge disconnect in attaching the dollar amount that needs to be generated in order for us to be fulfilled and live our lives.
Right.
And so there's this battle,
Yeah.
right? Because as creatives, it's not about the money, but when it's a business, it has to be.
Right.
And, on the education track, we want to make sure that, creative exploration and all of that stays a priority because, like you
Right.
said, right? Like there has to be creativity and there has to be peace. Artists cannot find peace without creativity. But once there's a business in play, the business has to fund.
Correct. And I do believe, obviously financial security and financial success breeds peace, right?
It can.
If you don't, I think if you don't get too swept away with, constantly chasing dollars. I have a lot of photographer friends who have done very, very well, but they're already at the point of burnout
Mm-hmm.
because they were always chasing. And I say this because money is still a priority to me. I want to fund my children's life. I want to
Oh, of
have my own
course.
comfortable lifestyle, but I don't want it to be the fueling driving force of why I do what I do.
No.
And I do feel like you made a really great point about, creative enterprise and charging and things like that. For me, I think in the beginning, I felt like we're managing people's emotions. Like we're in the business of people's emotions with photography, whether it's
Mhm.
family work or especially with boudoir and their vulnerability and things like that. So we feel a sense of guilt, or I used to feel a sense of guilt of attaching value to something because it's so emotional.
It is, but on the same token, all buying decisions are made on emotion.
Absolutely. And most luxury purchases are made on emotion, strictly on emotion.
Yeah.
So once I came to that realization, and it was pretty early on, I had no fear of really charging my worth early on. I don't really feel that I ever undervalued myself, beyond once the business got established.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that, especially for people that are just starting out, that's a definite struggle. And it's something that we've all gone through.
Well, I remember anytime I've raised my prices in 13 years, I'm always like, and whether this was going from 50 to $200 or, 3,000 to 5,000,
Hmm.
right? it's always been, God, nobody is going to pay this,
Mm,
but I might as well make the ones who say yes worth my time, right? And every time I'm always like, okay, we're going to do it. That's the new boundary. Like, all right, let's see how it goes. And the higher the pricing goes, the more easily those yeses come.
yeah, it's strange how that works, isn't it?
Well, and I think that comes, like you mentioned, establishing the business, right?
Hmm.
There is a period of time where like you're just putting those foundations in place, right?
Mm,
And so it's like, all right, I think I've got this right. I think so. And then you get a yes, and you've got proof of confidence and that, or proof of concept, and that builds the confidence there,
yeah.
right? And it also, that confidence helps you disconnect the
Mm,
no's from being no because you're a bad person, how do you sleep at night, to it's not time for me,
yeah.
right? And I think that's probably 80% of what photographers face when they're building is attaching that personal value.
Hmm.
And yes, money has to be a priority. The business is a separate entity, the same way your kids are, right?
Right.
But it needs profitability the same way your kids need
Oh,
air
yeah.
and sleep and food and, you know, so
I think
being
when
able
I,
to look through that lens, I think is really valuable to any
yeah,
business owner. And I don't care if it's creative or data driven, any of it is understanding that that profitability doesn't make you a bad person.
right. I think what I've taught in some of my classes and seminars and things like that is like, it's very important to kind of, as a person, because your career is built on who you are, right?
Sure.
So, is to establish what are those values that you value most in life, and then set up the business structure in a way that's going to support the
Yeah.
values. So it's kind of like the overarching umbrella, and then everything has to rise up.
Yeah.
So for me, I realized that I have the mental know-how to have $1 million studio. However, I do not have the logistical tolerance, or I know personally within what's comfortable for me that I don't want to do what it takes to have that I'm comfortable at a different level, and that still means success for me, instead of chasing something just because it's a dollar marker. You know what I mean?
Well, just because it has the extra zero,
Correct.
like the logistical tolerance, right? What team is necessary to support the execution of the $1 million in sales?
Right.
And is your profitability
Right.
less at a million than it would be at half a million?
Right.
Right? Do I get to keep 200, 225, 250 on a $500,000 studio? Or if I'm running for $1 million studio, am I only keeping 100 because the scale was so expensive?
And I had a close friend who, I think her studio was probably about 800,000, and she was netting not that much differently than I was. So there you go. You know what I mean? And the other thing I had learned through my role in corporate America is I did not like managing a team of people.
Mm,
It's not that I'm not antisocial or anything, but I didn't want the responsibility on top of everything else that I had of being responsible for people's career paths. And I loved mentoring them, but I didn't want to, especially in the corporate world where you have to stay on top of them all the time. And there's like, nuts and bolts, and there's all kinds of performance reviews and all these
right.
things. And there's a lot of politics. Um, I didn't want to do that. I'm somewhat of an introvert. I find a lot of peace working alone. So I'm like, okay, I know that I don't want to have a big team at the studio. So sacrificing those things, on the business side and the structure, but I'm still able to have my peace. I had an employee, and she was always around in the studio and helping me when I'm shooting. And I'm like, this is disrupting the my creative flow. So I know this isn't working for me. And it's just a different structure, but I can still value that, and I can still see it as something that works for me. You know what I mean? But it's based on those values that I had.
Well, and building, I love that you brought up the values, right? And, paying attention to how the business supports you living the life you want to live,
Hmm.
right? And I go through a lot of like mission and values with my mentees, and they're always reticent to track the dollars and reticent to build out the values,
Mm,
because now they have to look at how their customer experience is supporting those values,
Mm,
right? But the emotional connection it has for each step to the customer, right? And yes, it's separate from us, but it's still driven by us.
right.
So when we're having a bad day or feeling disempowered for whatever reason, right? Like we got that unexpected tax bill and we're like, I am the worst CEO in the world. What do I even think I'm doing right now? Right? To the, oh my God, this is the best business in the world and I'm changing people's lives one photo shoot at a time. Like there's your sales are going to be reflected by that.
Hmm.
Like exactly where you're sitting and your connection to your business. So if it's not based off of your values, how could it possibly be in a position to support your creativity, support your peace, and deliver a wildly wonderful experience for your customers?
Yeah, I'm glad you just made a nice transition to talk about client experience because that's something that's like super important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and this is why I never felt any kind of stress over pricing was because I know that the client experience I'm able to deliver is worth every penny.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me the confidence. And actually, when I do my IPS sometimes, my in-person sales, I'm like, when I don't see it, client's not blinking. She's not even blinking and she wants more. And I'm like, oh man, maybe my prices are too low. Yeah. Or maybe I did too good. But it kind of validates you when you know that when you have a strong client experience in place, it's actually fueling all of those other things. It's fueling the higher sales, it's fueling happier clients, it's fueling your own happiness because you know you're doing a good job.
Right.
Most of my client experience is built on observation and, having worked in the corporate world and I was in luxury branding. I mean, American Express is a luxury product. A lot of it's based on travel and luxury
Right.
living and things like that. So part of my job was to create card member experiences, like ultimate, like black card member things. And like if, let's say, here's an example. If we were at Wimbledon, I think Wimbledon's on right now. It was, I think, last week. But like if we're at Wimbledon, we would have special access for American Express card members that you can get into this
Mm-hmm.
gate and you can go here. And by the way, we have a tent with strawberries and cream for you, special access, special perks, just spoiling them.
Yep.
And so I would start to like observe like how is this company doing things? And then I started to go out to different brands and how are they doing things? What do they do that creates a special? This was actually a presentation I did at WPPI about branding and how are some of the luxury brands actually doing client experience? And I give people, I was like, let's steal some of these ideas and adapt them for a small business like ourselves. Like, what can we be doing for our clients that
Oh,
make them
absolutely. And
special and whole?
how do you position the company to afford it? Right.
Yeah.
Like I was in Spain last week, the week before, something like that. We went to Ibiza and I'm part of a coaching cohort. Like coaches all have coaches, right? But it was this very high end experience, same idea, like VIP access we went to. And but those of you who don't know, because I didn't know, Ibiza is like the capital worldwide for the EDM music scene.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never been a part of the techno scene. Like I am a rock and roll and opera girl through and through. But I was, like it's living, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to take advantage of this experience. Okay, let's ride. Right. And we had this private villa on the coast overlooking the water, like the bananas. Right. But we went to this show and had the front VIP station table area, private entrance, private restrooms, special security, like all of these just add-ons that weren't available for general admission. And I remember looking at general admission in the floor because and I don't know, I was a bar manager for 100 years. So when I'm in those club situations, it immediately turns on. Like I almost can't turn it off. And so I'm looking around the room and just okay, I'm looking for the guy who's too drunk that's, about to cause a scene, and these girls might be a little over the line, right? But there's so many people in the cramped, and here we are sitting, there's like 20 of us just enjoying this experience. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
how do we bring that to either a coaching experience or portrait clients, right? Do we host events? Maybe they're monthly or quarterly, to invite them for dinner or brunch or what have you, right? Just because they're clients, that's how they got in the room, as a gratitude and a way to say thank you. That also then converts into networking and so on and so forth. But how can you make sure that your systems support
Mhm.
your values support your business supports your creativity is then in exploring these other areas of service, because it's not just about how you pose them,
Right.
right? And I love that you started infusing, because American Express is a luxury brand,
Yeah.
right? And it's a credit card, it's a bank,
Yeah.
right? And
It's the
so
most unsexy thing there is, but the branding and our
yeah,
job, our role was to create it as a lifestyle and as something that people emotionally want to buy into. I mean, it
yeah,
makes absolutely no sense to pay a bank $500 to carry their credit card, their platinum card, or whatever. I don't even know how much it costs now.
$6.95.
Okay.
Because I
Um,
bought into it. I bought into it.
yeah, well, I did have it, and then I was like, I don't know, I got to pay tuition and stuff. But you're buying into a life and a
Mhm.
lifestyle, and there's an emotional significance to it. And when I realized that, and I had those light bulb moments from my job, I started looking everywhere. I mean, I just go downtown in Red Bank, New Jersey is like a cute little downtown area, and there's boutiques and everything, and luxury, there's a small luxury department store. I just go in and I just watch, like, how does it smell, like how does it touch my five senses,
Mhm.
you know so what does it look like, what does luxury look like, what does it smell like? There's one boutique I go in and I come out and I smell like the boutique. When I have my bag coming home from there, all the clothes smell that way, and it's glorious.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need a signature scent because I need them to remember the beautiful experience they have in the studio at each touch point. I actually spray the tissue paper of the bag,
Same.
you know,
Same.
um, and it's the
Well, and
same.
because scent is the one sense that we carry that's actually tied to
Mhm.
our lizard brain.
Yes.
So a lot of people talk about how music takes them back to this time in their life, and there is some truth to that. Scent will actually do that at a much deeper scale.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you noticed this or not, but a few years ago, like the hotel scents
I
started
use that.
really running rampant, like Hotel Collection and all of this stuff. Like
Yep.
you can have your home smell like the Ritz or the Four Seasons or all of this. And it really, like, if you watch the stocks on it, just like went bananas. But it's true because we attach. And for a long time, mine was like an amber scent. It
Mm.
was like amber, sandalwood, and vanilla.
Yeah.
And again, spraying the tissue paper for the folio boxes or the albums with the packaging, right? So that when they walk in the door, they're like, oh, where is that from? What is that from? But when
Right.
you tie it back to how they're feeling when they're with you, when they're in that photo session with you, how they feel in the sales room when you're doing that image selection appointment, and then they happen to a lot of my clients will keep the packaging, right? Just to like keep it in, gosh, it's so pretty, like la la la, and then open it up 6 months later, a year later, and just
Right.
and
Yeah.
suddenly they're having the best day. And
Yeah.
how can we tie that experience so it's not just the legacy of the imagery we're creating, it's the legacy of that experience. Like that's, oh yeah, I could dig into that all day long.
Oh,
Like,
same,
we could just
same.
do
Girl,
like a drop and give me
we can
20
have our
on
own
like
little.
the best ways to oh
Um, and while we're on the topic of scent, I do switch it up a little. So when it's time for IPS, I delved into this. Like there is actually studies of certain scents. So when they pump the scent of vanilla in department stores, they've discovered that it makes people spend more. So
huh.
Sometimes when I have somebody coming in for an IPS, I'll light the vanilla candle and just, I started doing like little experiments. Like, is this true? Science says it's true. When the men come with their wife or their partner for the boudoir IPS, cinnamon, because it gets the men aroused.
Huh. Well, it's interesting because like men and women, right? In studies, men prefer vanilla over like women.
Mm,
Well, not
mhm.
more than they value women, but like the scent of vanilla, men are more attracted and impacted by it than women are.
Yeah, I think it's comforting for men. I think for women, they associate it with luxury for some reason, is what I
Hmm.
had read. So
Okay.
there's a luxury association with vanilla. And for men, it does something to the blood flow. The studies had shown that pumpkin pie was the biggest arousal. If it has something to do with Thanksgiving, like
I want to know from Starbucks, anybody at Starbucks who's listening, I want you to tell me who is buying your pumpkin spice lattes. Is it women or men?
it
Who's buying more of them? That's what
has to be women. I mean, it's such like, but women, I don't know what's behind the science, but I was like, I'm going to test it out and see how it works. And a few times I'm like, whoa, that was a really big sale. Like I lit the candle.
I lit the candle, cinnamon it is. Got it. But it's true. And these are such, I think what's exciting about this too is this is another way to explore creatively.
Hmm.
And we want to make it about the pose, about the light, and what are the settings, and just make it easy, just make it replicable. Like creating your experience beyond just being in the studio will impact your sales in such incredible and unexpected ways.
Mm,
Right. And making sure that, like you're addressing all of, the not just their goals and usage for the images at that first conversation, but actually listening to what they're telling you, right?
yeah.
How they want to feel, why they picked you in the first place. I was the very first time I was in Versace to actually purchase something, not just to walk in and be like, okay, I can't afford any of this, but this is cool, right? But like, I'm going to buy something really special just for me. And I remember just like I had to find the perfect dress, but I noticed the scent in the room. I noticed how attentive but non-threatening the salespeople were. I noticed the lighting. Um, but I also noticed another woman who was in there. And this woman came in and she literally had a rack of t-shirts and guesses, dresses and a workout outfit and shoes and like $12,000. And she literally was in and out of there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just blammo, right? Oh, there we go.
Hey.
Right. But I remember thinking like this obviously wasn't her first time in the room. She was, in Vegas, and just coming in to because maybe she didn't bring her luggage or whatever. But I remember thinking like she wasn't paying attention to any of those nuances, just knew exactly what she wanted. Here, wrap it up for me. I'm going to go get a coffee and I'll be back. Right. And I was just like, how do you create that kind of confidence in a brand
Mm,
where somebody can come in and drop 5 figures, no questions asked? And it got me to thinking about when I started my business, like you mentioned, coming in from the corporate space. And I came in from the food and bev space. And so everything, like I've phoenixed through my entire life. I would burn it to the ground just to say I came back. But also very evenly split right and left brand, I mean. And how we hold the value for that experience is so paramount to actually having the confidence to charge for it in the first place.
hmm.
But knowing that it's not just the top line revenue that we're after. You can have a $10,000 sale and have your net be 500 bucks,
Right.
right? So am I really after that $10,000 sale just so I can say I had a $10,000 sale?
Exactly. This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Like,
That's a lot of it has become that. And the truth is, it really doesn't take that much investment to make a person feel extraordinary.
mhm.
It really doesn't. It's just little simple things. It's the way, like you mentioned, you in the Versace store, like you're noticing lighting, you're noticing the way it smells, you're noticing how they're treating you, special treatment, even just simple things. Just pour them a glass of bubbly of some kind,
Mhm.
or if we're boudoir, I'm speaking specifically, not a family session, obviously.
Doing shots of whiskey, it's fine.
But these things don't take very much. But think about when you go to a hotel and like you feel most pampered by the hotel or by a
Mhm.
restaurant. Like, what are they doing? It's never really anything extraordinary. And quite honestly, sometimes when you're being too lavish, it makes people feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Even wealthy clients, like if you try to bestow too much upon them, they feel uncomfortable with it. It's just simplicity and warmth. And part of it is knowing, who your client is, because for me, I recognize that my ideal client is they're usually like very successful working women,
Mhm.
don't have a lot of time. Most of them are working mothers, like career mothers and things like that. And they don't have time to have the decompression. So I create my space as a place of decompression. That's their luxury.
Right.
It doesn't matter what they drove in on or what their shoes look like in the handbag. It's about time as a luxury for them. And when they're coming into my space, I'm not blaring heavy metal at them.
Right.
It's spa music, it's comfortable seating, it's comfortable robe, it's the smells, it's what can I do for you? It's allowing them that if they have to check their messages while they're in hair and makeup, like I'm not going to be like, no, that phone is shut off for the day. I understand my key client. Like we're
Right.
trying to create a stress-free environment for them, you know?
Well, that allows them to move through in their energy with their own confidence. When
Right.
you start strapping heavy boundaries to no phones allowed and no selfies and, well, saying no at all, right? Like that is what immediately pushes people back into constriction.
Yeah.
Right. So one of my clients recently, we had this huge production plan for her branding session. And I thought her makeup looked terrific.
Yeah.
And then we adjusted the lip a little bit, like toned it down. But then going through, she's like, I hate all this makeup.
Wow.
And, like that's fine. With AI, like I can address that.
Yeah.
Right? But she was completely confused about my lack of bother. Right now, I'm happy to reshoot it if she wants to. But I
Right.
think, even with something like a Voto or Imagen software, like that's an easy fix,
Mhm.
right? I don't provide hair and makeup for the retouching benefits. It's the opportunity for somebody to be supported and cared for so they have
Yeah.
a chance to exhale.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Everything with the experience that we've created is around, like, there are touches of luxury, but it's really just around being supported and cared for. Because, like you, right? Time poor, taking responsibility for everyone else. They're modeling that success and status for others so that they are then empowered to move through and do that for themselves. But it's not an easy road. And so to have a photographer or a business owner that actually sees that for you and holds enough space for you to just have that experience
Yeah.
helps them feel more confident in their decision to choose you in the first place,
Right.
which then makes them more empowered in the sales room in their decisions of what to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that confidence has to be sown through your experience, and you have to know how every single step of the way supports the values you have for the business, right? That's the north star, has to be that client experience.
Yeah.
Now, with your evolution going from corporate into motherhood and then creating this business that you have today, was there a point where you said this isn't enough, like experience wise, not necessarily like money wise, not in that space, but in the this needs to be more for my clients. This is why I want more for them.
I mean, I think if I came from a different place, I might have had that moment. For me, it was like I have to start in my head, I had to start with the best. So I need the perfect space that's going to make people feel at ease, um, relax their nervous system. And so the space was very important to me. Like, I really can shoot anywhere. I can find a dumpster and make it look pretty, I think. But for me, it was more about having almost like a spa-like experience because I knew who my key client was and I knew that what I would require to create an environment for them. I was really trying to create an environment. So from the very start. So my first studio, it was a magnificent space. I shared it with someone else. It didn't work out. So I went on to find my next space, but I took my time because I'm like, I need the space to be perfect. The energy in that space was not the best. And I'm like, I need the next space to have better energy. So I kind of worked my way up. I had a beautiful loft space. Just 2 years ago, I gave that up because I was there for 8 years. And I'm like, okay, the creative is all starting to look the same. Even though it's new for the client, I felt like I was um, just a rotating door at that point because I wasn't
Turning.
using my brain to be creative and more connected in the boudoir artistry of it. People thought I was crazy giving up the space, but it goes back to that value of creativity. The business is performing still great. And in fact, it's gotten even better, but the creative piece was starting to dwindle. So I'm like, okay, my value system is being compromised. It's time to move out.
Mhm.
Moved to the next place. I rented a whole house. It's a carriage house on an estate. Rumson is a very big, it's a very wealthy area, just full of mansions and estates, very old money kind of thing. And it was an old estate. I think it's 160 years old, maybe. And I have the carriage house to the main house next door. So even that space, I was like, I wonder how much this would cost to buy. And then I saw the price tag. I'm like, oh, for a carriage house. But it has a charm to it where it's a fairy tale quality of people coming into a space and everyone comes in, they're like, what is it about this space? It's so peaceful. I felt it too. And I was intentional about searching for these environments. So I find the structure. And I'm not saying you have to go out and find some ridiculous studio, but you have to find a space that has the right energy that feels good. I'm being a little woo woo on you, Kat.
Oh,
Like,
come on, bring it. I love some woo woo.
all my yoga coming out, but you have to find a space that has the right energy. And some of that is through light, some of that is through the way it's set up, some of it is through just like your own intuition, like this feels like me. People told me you are crazy for leaving that loft space. But I knew that there was something more that needed to happen. Like I knew that I needed to provide a more it was beautiful, but I needed something more nurturing because I saw what was working with the client experience. And now people feel so safe. And a lot of times I'm like shooing them out because they don't want to leave.
No, they
Um,
want to be in that energy, right? Like,
and I get a ton of repeat clients. So I've had clients that have been with me since my first space. So I'm actually on space number 4 because I had an interim while one of the spaces was being built. So they're like, I said, well, how do you like the new space? They're like, it's just, I don't know, it's charming. So many repeat clients, and they're like, it's just, the other place was more fancy and bougie. And this goes back to luxury. Like, it doesn't have to be so bourgeois and fancy to have value to people.
right.
This is a 160-year-old house. It's a little beat up. The floors are crooked. There's a crack in the ceiling. Nobody's paying attention to that because all of the other elements are serving them so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and staying in alignment with your values, but more importantly, like your purpose,
Yeah.
right? Like this purpose, yes, there's a purpose and a mission for the business to serve others, but your purpose in captaining that ship also has to be fed.
Mm-hmm.
So if that primary value is creativity and then peace, right? I think those two things would probably be interchangeable for 1 and 2, right? Because
Yeah.
one feeds into the other. Uh, but it's really about staying connected to that purpose that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to evolve and know, like, even when people are telling you you're out of your bloody mind for leaving this incredible space, to find something that evolution brings you more of your highest value.
Right. And
Um,
when I'm in my highest value, I'm delivering that to them. It's like kind of like oozing out of me,
mhm.
And so my clients are always telling me like, you're so calming, or I just feel so comfortable. They tell me everything, like even things I don't want to know.
Yep.
But it's only because I can be my best self in the structure I created that it's like a mirror, you know?
Mhm. Mirror, mirror, mirror,
Yeah.
mirror. Awesome. Oh, this has been so good.
Oh, I know. I love talking to you. We could go on for hours.
Let's host a retreat, Cate. It's the Cate and Cat
I
show.
mean, say less.
Oh man.
Wow.
But so I want to really end this conversation on the note of imparting how valuable that alignment is.
Hmm.
And to make sure that anybody who's listening, that your takeaway from this, and maybe it's other things too, but really is in knowing what you value for your life and for the significance of your business for your customers' lives, staying connected to that and making that a priority in how you make decisions. That's the scale,
Mm,
right? It's not the top line. It's finding the number that works for you, but allows you to make decisions based off of what's in the best interest of those values for both your customers and your business, because it's in the best interest for you. You get through that, you find that target, you'll fly.
amen.
All right. So, Cate, where can people find you?
My website is Life as Fine Art. That's also my Instagram handle. Um, I've been a little reticent on the TikTok,
Same,
yeah,
same.
but feel free to reach out if you have questions or just to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here.
Namaste, girl.
Namaste. Man, what a conversation. So, I am here today with Cate Scaglione, and she was actually referred to me by Shannon K. Doherty. If you haven't listened to Shannon's episode, definitely do. But Cate's something special. She's based out of New Jersey, and we got on this call today, and she has a corporate background and moved into the business space with her own portrait work and fine art work and her boudoir work. The alignment here is just bananas, and I can't wait for you to understand why. Because conversations like these, they move through from the tactical, right? Like, what should we focus on, what would you like to talk about, and into really unfolding what that conversation is really supposed to be, and connecting with the people on the Studio Takeover podcast really helps me stay grounded and connected to the larger community of photographers. Cate is one of those people. Big heart, and so grounded. And I know you're going to have some amazing takeaways today. So without further ado, Cate Scaglione.